Well, on behalf of London, I have to say thank you because I May Destroy You is maybe the first time in forever that I've seen a London that I recognise. To see,
That made me emotional.
it's the truth. To see white working class kids side by side with children of immigrants,
Yes.
all using the same slang, all dancing to the same Afrobeat record. Thank you, because it's beautiful. Michaela, how you doing?
I'm doing really good, Reggie.
This is really weird, isn't it? Sort of doing an official conversation on camera,
Yes.
not in front of an audience,
Yes.
in a massive room,
Yeah.
socially distanced. It's very strange.
It's really strange. It's a strange experience.
Yes.
I don't know how else to describe it because it's also strange, but we're carrying on as if we're just taking it on, which is,
Yeah.
I guess, in a way commendable.
See, I don't want to be another one of those people that talks about this as being an incredibly strange time, but it does feel, particularly right now while I'm wearing this Janet Jackson mic, very strange that I'm sat opposite a friend and we can't be close to each other.
Yes.
And we can't really dig in, but
No.
we don't have masses of time to talk, and I really want to dig into stuff with you because there is so much to say, it
I'm
feels
so
like.
intrigued by what you're going to ask me.
Well, first of all, happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
How are you feeling being 1 year younger? As that's how it works, right? As you,
Yeah,
you
I
have your
actually
birthdays
think
at this age.
I've been here 1 year longer.
Right.
It's like another year that I've been here. And yeah, I'm kind of weird. I'm really happy with like it being 1 year longer, not like going back. I'm not one of those like
Yeah. I
I'm
need to change
33,
my age.
and I love it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel fine. I feel like, it's a strange year, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what else is quite strange about this conversation. The last time we did something similar to this, you and I didn't really know each other. Do you remember when we did it? You were wearing a pair of dungarees. I was wearing denim as well.
Was it The Guardian? What shoot was that?
I can't even remember,
Yeah.
but you had a lot of hair. And I had a lot of S-curl. And we had this conversation where we were just sort of getting to know each other, but there was a camera on us and we had a microphone on us too. And you said something to me when we sat down for that conversation that you've never fully revealed. And you said that we'd met before and you wouldn't tell me where we'd met. Now is the time that you tell me in the house of the Lord. We're surrounded by crosses.
Are you sure?
Is it a bad time? What? Do I not want to do?
Basically, I'm also not entirely sure. Your chest.
Can you hear my heart on the mic?
This. Okay, so I actually now can't remember, which is really sad, but it's one of two. Did you ever used to come to like an estate in East London?
We should probably move on.
Let's move.
Okay, so apart from that time when we met that we're not going to talk about now, but the first time that we properly got to hang out was weirdly in a car driving from Kenya to Uganda on a road trip. And I feel as though that was one of the most unique ways to get to know someone. And I feel like we really had an opportunity to find out a lot about each other.
Yes, I feel like I really discovered your humor on that trip. Like, I think I knew you, but I always knew you as, you ask a lot of questions, you think quite deep, you're quite curious, but I didn't know that you were a clown. And I was like, this is sick. Sick.
Well, it was a beautiful way to get to know you, and I like to feel it was the beginning of our friendship and the beginning of me actually understanding who you are outside of what it is that you do, which is why I was really excited to be a part of this conversation because heroes is a huge thing for me when it comes to when I look at my journey and where I am now. And I'm really fascinated to find out who it is that you have looked to and if you have looked at anyone and who you define as heroes.
I feel like whenever I'm asked this question, I have to think for a long time, which means I don't know if I do sort of pick a person and look to them.
Yeah.
However, recently, I've just had a really big, and it keeps coming in waves of just how amazing my mum is, which is just so, you know, but it's true. Like the sacrifices that she made, the nothing that she had to then end up studying nursing, doing a postgraduate, raising 2 kids by herself, and still being calm, sweet, happy, funny. She gives good advice. She's vulnerable. She expresses her vulnerability.
Which is a powerful thing.
Which is a powerful thing. You know what I mean? I say that as like wow, I have a mum who can sometimes show me her own vulnerability.
Particularly for Ghanaian women, as 2 people who have Ghanaian parents, to see an adult, a person with authority show their vulnerability, it is very rare. Like, do you remember the first time that she was vulnerable around you?
Yeah, I think it was like last year. Yeah, it was really late, and I just was like, and then she opens up about her life. I think sometimes we don't ask our parents.
Yes.
Like, where have you come from? Who are you?
Who were you before I was here?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Who were you before I was here?
Yeah.
So I've recently, maybe it's also lockdown, I've just been talking with her more. And now I have this context for this human that I've labeled my mum, and suddenly like this breadth of like her history and her struggles and how she's just sat there in front of you sort of smiling is just astounding.
Yeah,
So
it's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
See, heroes are one side of the conversation, and role models are sort of like a natural sort of sibling in a way. And I've spoken about this before, this idea of sort of having the label of role model thrust upon you. As a teenager, being on TV, I'd have black mums stop me in the street and tell me that I was a role model for their kids. And initially, I rejected it because I didn't want that pressure. And with everything that you've gone on to do as a black woman in television and film, do you feel that you are a role model for others, and have others projected that responsibility onto you?
I have been told that.
Yes.
And my thing is, that's a huge thing to be told, a huge, great thing to be told, right? But my thing is, if all I'm doing at any time is like, I'm focusing on what's in front of my face, what's in my hands, when I'm making stories, if I'm performing poetry, if I'm, doing a musical movie, and I've, on and off screen, I've always tried to, I don't know what it is, I don't know, saying be true to myself feels really vague, and there's something, also like the word authentic feels vague, it doesn't feel accurate, it doesn't feel real. What is the word? I don't know. I'm quite, maybe it's transparency. So if all I'm going to do is keep doing what I was doing before, so whether I'm seen as a role model or not, I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing. So if I'm being called a role model because I'm being transparent, then I tend to ignore the label and just keep doing what I'm doing. Because I think if you focus on labels like that, it can be probably a bit overwhelming. And what does it mean? It gets weird.
Yeah, well, that transparency, I think, is incredibly powerful and also very empowering. For you to be as transparent as you've been with I May Destroy You, it's incredible. I mean, on a human level, as friends, we had a conversation when you told me what you were writing and what it spoke to. And as a friend, I was like, you sure? Like, really, you want to share this with everyone? And I think I said it to you when I was fortunate enough to watch the last couple of episodes with you, and to be able to say to you how affecting it was and how beautiful and painful it was at the same time. I think that was a sentiment that a lot of people definitely felt.
Yeah.
That transparency, it's a powerful thing and not a burden, I think. For you, that using that,
it's freeing.
And creating that, it's freeing, right?
It's freeing, and I think it's difficult because when you're being transparent, you're also being transparent with yourself, and you're looking at parts of you that you ideally would not have to see, or maybe you're realizing that you have thoughts that aren't in line with who you proclaim to be as a person, but then you get to work on them and you get to keep working and developing. I don't know if you can like develop unless you're transparent with yourself, because you're not investigating who you are in a transparent way.
Yeah.
So yeah, being transparent about how I feel, I think it's also just led me to a lot more curiosity and bravery in how I see other people, in daring to look for, daring to find the brother in my enemy. You know, I think it's very empowering.
Yeah.
So I like to do it.
One thing that you have been incredibly transparent about is the process that brought this show to us as a viewing public, and for you to be so open about the journey that this story took is incredible. For you to decide to take it away from one platform because of an ownership conversation,
Yes.
I found as a creator myself incredibly empowering. So ownership is something I wanted to talk to you about. You've highlighted the fact that giving away IP is something that you don't want to do. When did the light bulb sort of go off for you in terms of the power of ownership and
Yes.
how important it is to steer your own narrative as
Yes.
opposed to giving your IP, giving your ideas to others?
Yes. Well, also, you know, it's like, it's not that it's like a blanket, I will never give my IP.
Yeah, yeah.
But this show was so specific and required so much. And actually, you know, I think sharing IP is one thing, but some of our industry is quite exploitative in that it wants all of the IP from the artist. And if the artist is generating the idea, I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's so dodgy. I think it's so... And
Dodgy is the perfect word.
dodgy. And it's like, we will take it because we're looking for scraps, anything, because it's hard, right?
Yeah.
But the ethics of just taking everything, and also it happens even in music, when some streaming services, unnamed, want music for a show, they will like license the music and buy all the rights from the artist, from like with like a one fee. So they give them like, here's a big wad of money. Now we've got your music. For like artists, especially working class artists, I don't think like one big check is helpful. I think like a steady check, like they're going to be making from your music, is much more helpful. So I think it's not looking out for our longevity.
Yeah.
Longevity.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
There's something that I sort of have to share, because I've not actually spoken to anybody about this since it happened, and I don't think I've even mentioned this to you. There was a moment during the final episode that was possibly the most meta moment that's ever happened in my life, where Waruche's character has the advert on screen, and you guys as a group of friends are watching the show. And I looked to my left, and Papa was there, Waruche was there, and you were there, and we were watching the show where you guys were watching the moment happen on screen. And it was like the biggest sort of head mess for me that I think I've ever had, ever. To see your life on screen is certainly, I imagine for you, a really strange and beautiful experience all at the same time. But in this era, it almost feels as though the demand and what's expected of you is to continue that conversation on social media. And I asked you almost directly after that episode, what I sort of told you, I was really pleased that you're no longer on social media, because the responsibility of the content and the power of the content and the scale of it too would demand a level of conversation that you shouldn't have to have with strangers. For me and for people that aren't in the position to have this conversation with you, can you explain your decision to not be on social media during a time when you've created something that I think has maybe started the most conversation that I've ever seen when it comes to a drama, particularly led by a black woman.
Well, also a double meta moment for you at the house was also when I stood up and I said thanks to everybody, and then it ends and Arabella's like, thanks for coming, guys. It's so weird.
Yeah, super weird.
It's like trippy, right?
Yeah.
It's trippy.
Very weird.
I know I feel trippy all the time. Like when we were shooting, everything is trippy about the show. But I do have a Twitter account.
Right.
I don't like check it much, but I'm not like anti social media, you know, it's just that I'm not like pro social media in its current form. And I left, about 2 years ago, I left Instagram, and it was really just because I had to make the show, you know, and it's 12 episodes, I'm writing every single word, and I realized that this sort of scrolling and enjoying like all these things and all these like, you know, DMs and connections and blah, 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 is just taking up so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And I had to do my work. And so now I'm not working, but I'm aware that it feels much more beneficial for me to fill my time with doing a variety of things, because you can just get lost scrolling. Instead, like go out, go for a walk.
Read a book.
Read a book,
Yeah.
like meditate, just like stretch your bones a little bit. So that was really why I came off. Like, there's loads of things I actually miss about social media, especially when the lockdown happened, because I lived alone. So there's a part of you that goes, oh God, there was this place that I used to be on where you never felt like you were alone.
But did you want to be part of the conversation?
Oh,
Did
around
you-
the show?
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to be part of the conversation, but I did want to sometimes pre it.
Yes. Yeah.
I loved preing it because it was great to see. It's almost like just to check if people were getting it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, they're getting it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just like look for the hashtag I may destroy you.
Yeah.
And just sort of like in the beginning, and then I just got, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I do think I definitely did not want to be like, I don't know, like it is very hard to understand anything that anybody's saying on social media. That's anything that you are trying to explain by virtue of it being through Twitter means it's like flattened, and whatever, all of your intentions, you put that out, it's not going to be received the way you want it to be received. Right. And I think there's an element of that as a creative. You try to be clear, it doesn't always go your way, but with Twitter, it's virtually impossible. So there was no need.
For you to be there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think that we have, and by we I mean this generation of creators, writers, directors, filmmakers, and by that I mean the international community that are part of this generation from here to the US and everything in between, do you think that we have a level of responsibility that our predecessors just didn't? And what do you feel that your role in the greater conversation actually is? Because you've done something incredible with I May Destroy You. You also shifted the needle with chewing gum as well. And I know everybody wants to know what you're thinking about next, but I'm not going to get into that with you because we've only got a few minutes left. So what do you think our generation is responsible to do, given the current climate?
Yeah, I do think our predecessors had as much responsibility as we do. I think probably every generation thinks that they're different, or is dealing with things are new. I think things are always new all the time. And I wonder whether our responsibility is the same as it always has been before, which is about understanding. I feel like understanding seems very important, and it's always been important. Trying to understand where other people are coming from, understanding that somebody has come from a different place and has gone through different things, and that might explain why they have the opinion that they have now or the feelings that they have now. And if we can get that, I'm curious to see what happens then when we get that we're all coming from different places and what are the things we have in common right now. And I think social media has probably like escalated it. We seem divided. It's common, isn't it? We know this. But I'm curious if we just get, that's where they're coming from. A bit like my mum, understanding the context of my mum, all that she's been through, and then seeing her and going, oh, wow. Okay, I get you, I get you, I get you. I love you. I wonder whether that's our responsibility, but I think it always has been. And I think we keep failing, and that's why there are things like wars.
From the minute I first saw you on screen, right the way through to seeing you on stage at the BAFTAs in that incredible kente dress made by your mother, I recognized almost instantly that who you are is at the core of what you do. And your identity is something that really plays into the work you create. Can you sort of expand on that for me and explain just how important it is to leave your fingerprints on the art that you share and that you give away?
Interesting. You know, yeah, I feel like there is... there's probably a more traditional route into the industry that I haven't taken, which is probably about like learning how to write before you start writing. And there's something that feels very, I'm using whatever I have in front of me. And there's always something, right? Or whether it's inside of me or in front of me, because I'm expressing something that's very present.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm always doing. And I think a lot of creatives do that. I've been watching some, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Charlie Kaufman movies, and I can feel that he's doing that. It's a weird, I don't know, I'm definitely, when I make work, I'm not often outside observing a world. I want to be in the world, in it, you know, and in it so much, like I can't see beyond it.
Yeah.
And then when I have to, I'll come out
Yeah.
and see what the world is. But I like to feel like I'm immersed in the story, not just standing out here telling a story about those people over there. I like to be inside the narrative.
Yeah.
I do. And then step out.
Well, on behalf of London, I have to say thank you, because I May Destroy You is maybe the first time in forever that I've seen a London that I recognise. To see...
That made me emotional.
It's the truth. To see white working class kids side by side with children of immigrants,
Yes.
all using the same slang, all dancing to the same Afrobeat record. Thank you. Because it's beautiful. And I have friends in the US that watched the show and said, I've never seen that London before.
Yeah, it's quite crazy, isn't it, how if you don't show it, it can be erased, as if it never happened, and only we who were there know.
Yeah.
And our lives and our worlds were so rich and so colourful, and actually, especially within the working class communities, so connected and so brotherly and sisterly beyond race, that it feels, I feel very happy that I was able to do it.
Why does that make you emotional?
I think it's just that if you don't tell it, it's erased. And it was so great. And it'll be like it never happened.
Yeah. It feels like a door's sort of been opened in a lot of ways off the back of this show for people to not only speak their truth, but also for people from, I hate saying diverse backgrounds, but from working class backgrounds, regardless of their colour, children of immigrants as well, to feel proud of who they are and their stories and their and their differences as well.
Yes, it's that. I think that's another reason why I get a bit emotional. It's because, you know, even sort of I would do these like, when I'd be in the edit, I'd invite a couple of friends over to watch drafts, to get their opinion, and to see them see themselves reflected, to show them a show, and the show is a mirror, and then they're looking at their reflection, and they've never had a mirror before. It's like a, you know, I don't know if you say this, but you say, you know, you're a servant of the story.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done my job in servitude, you know, to providing us with a mirror, you know?
Thank you for giving me a mirror. I say that on behalf of a lot of people. You did an amazing job, and you should be so proud, and I'm so proud of you too.
Thank you, bro.
And thank you so much for having us, GQ. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
having
GQ.
us. And Michaela, I'm proud to sit opposite a GQ hero.
I love you.
Love you too, sis.